Welcome to the Upshot, multi-world disc golf podcast about the latest in the disc golf world. I'm the editor, Charlie Eisenhood. Joining me is Josh Mansfield. It is Thursday, May 19th. We are getting set for the OTB Open. We're back on the Disc Golf Pro Tour Elite Series. We've had a little bit of a break, a couple weeks off, longer break than we've had in some time. And we're about a third of the way through the season. So exciting stuff. We're going to talk plenty of OTB in just a bit, and we hope you caught our interview yesterday with Sean Jack and Sean Mercy, the TDs, who have a ton of insight into the event, the course, and the business side of running a disc golf tournament. So I want to start with this today. Simon Lizotte was on video at DDO talking about the courses on tour. Let's hear from Simon.
My whole thing about the disc golf and the future of disc golf is that it has to look fun and it has to make sense to the audience, because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make it a sport for the masses, and it really can be. But if you go out here and play 1,000-foot holes with flags and ropes and lines all over everywhere, people throwing 10 shots to get to the basket, I feel like that causes confusion. Like at the USDGC, we've talked so much about people, so many comments online like, I don't even know where they're going. I don't know what the rules are. We're just making it too confusing. And I think a great thing about disc golf, this freaking equipment we have here can do so many things that a ball can't do, and we're not using it. Like, we need more technical, more short stuff. We need to use putter shots, mid-range drivers. We should use everything. And here it's just PD2, PD2, yep. FD3, PD2. It's like, come on.
So that's Simon Lizotte talking about his thoughts on rope and the types of courses that we're seeing on tour. Josh, your take.
I you know how I feel about Jones Supreme. I wasn't a fan of the course. I think Emporia is better, but I think he brings up a really valid point about the intuition of disc golf and of course design. And when you have to take a property that is not suitable for the top level of disc golf, you have to do things to that property that are counterintuitive for what the natural play of disc golf would be in order to make it difficult. And that is a trade-off. And I think he really articulates, I've never thought about it in that way. I don't want to claim credit or, say that I had already thought about it that way. I think it's a really novel and refreshing take on why these kind of park courses. And I think what I like most about it is that there are holes on golf courses that make sense. And I'm thinking particularly of hole 18 at the Portland Open last year. It was a plenty of open space. It was still technical in its own way. It was hard by all means, but it was long, but it made sense, right? You could watch, and the 4 shots that it took to get into the basket were very clear in the progression of those shots and why players were doing what they were doing. And so I think there are examples, and I think it's a really good delineation for me as to when you have good open courses versus open courses that are there and have been designed, in a way that is truly counterintuitive to the natural flow of disc golf. And I think that's a good metric for me personally, and how I'm going to evaluate courses kind of moving forward that don't have the woods that naturally shape lines for you.
So what the Simon is describing is not exclusive to the courses at DDO. I mean, we have a general trend in elite disc golf to have wide open courses, often on golf course layouts, because it's spectator friendly, it's cellular friendly, it accommodates a lot of people. And as a result, though, you have to generate difficulty somehow. And a lot of the time that difficulty is being generated by rope. And so obviously, when you have a wide open expanse of land and there's parts of that land where you're allowed to be, in bounds, and there's other parts where you take a penalty stroke and that the delineation is often not particularly obvious, That is confusing. I mean, I think it's fair to say that is confusing. Whether or not, like, what's the remedy though? I mean, I think this point is going to resonate with a lot of people that Simon makes, but it's not so easy to just have like the perfect ideal course that has all of these exact elements that you want with no OB. I mean, I think, some people point to the Preserve as a course that, really lets you kind of throw where you want, doesn't punish you with a lot of OB. Remember, Simon loved the Preserve course when they first played it 2 years ago, because it doesn't have a lot of OB. But, on the other hand, it's not like the Preserve is exactly the picture of a course that has like very intuitive layout where you like look off the tee and you know exactly what the plan is going to be. I get Simon's point. I think the thing is the course being the number one element is no longer the focus of disc golf right now. I do think we need to have the pendulum swing back more in that direction. But the fact is, spectators come first. Like, look at the OTB Open this weekend. Spectators come first. They moved this tournament to Stockton, to a golf course, because it is more accommodating for spectators. It's arguable that Glen Eagles is the better course. Probably a personal preference thing. But like, the reason they're here is because of spectators, because of media, and not because of the course proper. But as we'll talk about later, I think you can be creative with a golf course layout and make it more interesting. So anyway, I think Simon makes a good point. I think we need a variety of courses. And I think what we saw there is Simon coming off the course after just playing in the brutal wind and having a bad time.
It definitely seems like that's the case, and he's got every right to feel that way. And I think it's important, like you talked about, that we need the pendulum to swing back a little bit. We need people like Simon, who, as TDs continue to look for spectators and the Disc Golf Pro Tour continues to focus on media, you need players like Simon who continue to insist that the course come first, because that's how you get the kind of compromise and dialogue that leads to the best outcome possible for given all the competing factors that have to go into it.
So back at the booth this weekend, covering the OTB Open for Disc Golf Network, is Elaine King. And the Pro Tour actually put out a press release. I don't know how widely distributed this was, but they put out a press release, and they basically said, we're going to have Elaine King at all of the other events that she was scheduled to commentate at. Now, of course, they directly addressed the controversy from Champions Cup when Elaine contacted Paige Pierce's caddy to let Kristen Tatar know that she might get in trouble because her daughter was underage caddying for her. We're not going to rehash that whole thing. I just want to read this quote from Jeff Spring, the director of the Disc Golf Pro Tour. Members of the disc golf community have expressed concern regarding the scenario at Champions Cup earlier this season. Some of these concerns are valid and were shared by us at the DGPT and Disc Golf Network. We have made it clear to Elaine and all of our commentators that they should not interact with competitors or caddies during competition. We have reiterated that if any questions arise during a broadcast, they are only to reach out directly to our team members to seek clarification. After the review process and numerous conversations, we are confident that Elaine had nothing but sincere intentions when she has attempted to resolve the potential rules issue that she had noticed. We are confident that she has learned from this and will not repeat the mistake going forward. We value the years of experience as an elite professional player and dedicated organizer that Elaine brings to the booth and are looking forward to seeing her back in action. Our sport is very lucky to have her as a part of our community. We're excited for the action at OTB Open, Portland Open, and Beaver State over the coming month. The Pro Tour, again, reiterating that they will have her back in the booth for all of the events for which she was scheduled. In my mind, Josh, this is exactly how this should play out. The Pro Tour acknowledges the situation. The Pro Tour acknowledges that, it's probably inappropriate for commentators to be communicating with players directly or indirectly during competition. And they said, we talked to Elaine about it and we're good. I mean, to me, this is exactly what should have happened. I mean, this is great. I think the Pro Tour nails this. Some people are going to be upset that Elaine is back in the booth, but everybody just needs to relax a little bit about the whole thing, in my opinion. And this is the appropriate response to something that was clearly done with good intentions.
I think it's hard for me because when I look at professional sports and imagine scenarios and try to imagine scenarios in NBA, NFL, like I can't even fathom them, and I think that's part of the hard part for me. But given who Elaine is in her relation to the sport, where the Disc Golf Pro Tour is at in terms of commentators who are capable and have the knowledge and expertise necessary in order to do a good job on the mic. I agree with you. I think this is probably the best outcome. I've already seen online, there's the people who are upset that more wasn't done. There are other people who are upset that we're even talking about it again. I think both of those are valid. I mean, I think that this, like you said, is the best resolution to what was a ill-advised but well-intentioned decision by Elaine. I don't see any risks of future harm coming from it, and so that I think I agree with you in terms of how this should play moving forward.
All right, let's turn our attention to the Match Play Championships. They're coming up in just under a month out in Bailey, Colorado. The dream is real. The dream is here, Josh. Mountain Disc Golf on Tour. So the Match Play Championships, top 16 players, MPO, FPO, will be competing. And that top 16 is going to be decided this weekend at the OTB Open. So the top 16 get in, but all Elite Series winners on the Disc Golf Pro Tour, so not the Champions Cup, exclude that, will get into the Match Play Championship. So even if you're way back and you're in 50th place, if you can go out there and you can win the OTB Open, you're going to get yourself a spot in the Match Play Championship. But what we wanted to do was take a look at the current standings and see who's still got a realistic shot. Now, obviously, somebody could moonshot win the tournament, but if there's a course on tour that I don't think anybody's going to moonshot win, it's probably this one. So let's take a look right now. We'll start an MPO, and the fact is the auto qualifiers for winning Elite Series are not especially interesting because they're all in the top 16 already. You've got Drew Gibson down at 11, of course, winning LVC. But besides that, your winners are primarily up at the top, in the top 5. So, obviously Ricky's got a couple, Paul Macbeth, but those guys are in the top 5. Calvin Heimberg. So not much to see there. Let's go down to the bubble, Josh. Luke Humphreys is in the 13 spot. Maybe we should start with Matty O in 12th. He's at 221 points. Luke Humphreys at 218. Thomas Gilbert 216. Chris Clemens at 215. Kyle Klein currently last in at 205. And then outside of the top 16 right now, Mason Ford, just under 2 points shy of Kyle Klein at 204. Ezra Aderhold at 195. Corey Ellis at 194. Aaron Gossage at 181. And then Casey White at 171. Who's got a chance, Josh? How far down do you draw the line for who could get in with a good performance this weekend?
I think I actually stopped the line at, I got to make sure. So 70. So fifth place takes approximately 65 points. I don't remember the exact number. I'm just looking and I see a tie for fifth. No, that was outright fifth. So fifth place at Jonesboro for Gannon Burr was 64 points. That was just the first fifth place that I found.
Remember the point curve goes 100, 85, 75, 69, 64.
Okay.
So I mean the rewards for a top 3 finish are very real.
Yeah. I think that Simon and Casey White probably need first or second to get in. Maybe a third place.
Simon's at 164, so he has to make up about 40 points to catch Kyle Klein.
Uh-huh. The problem
Simon has a good chance on this course, I think, to get up in that top 1 or 2. And if Kyle Klein has a poor weekend, pass him.
Right. So imagine Simon takes second, for example. That puts him at around the 230 mark, which means Kyle Klein needs to take top 15 in order to stay in. Any of those guys have to take top 15 to stay ahead. Not unrealistic that one of Matt Oram, Luke Humphreys, Thomas Gilbert, Chris Clemens, Kyle Klein finish outside the top 15. So
I totally agree.
I think my line is probably Simon and up, but Simon, Casey, Aaron Gossage, I'm going to say Aaron Gossage too. All three of those guys I think need a top 3 in order to secure their spot.
Unless somebody really bombs,
right,
doesn't score any points, which of course is possible.
So Luke Humphreys has the worst finish, and Thomas Gilbert. They have, I think, the worst finishes of the season thus far at 44th, where they only got 6 points. If that's the case, they could easily drop off with a good performance from any of those 6 that we've been talking about. I really like Ezra Aderhold's chances of making the match play championship.
Yes.
He is only 10 points behind Kyle Klein, 20 to 25 points behind the rest of that group. Look, Ezra beating one of them out by 25 points is not unrealistic to me in any world, especially at the OTB Open. I think Luke Humphreys is at particular risk, as well as Chris Clemens. Chris Clemens, the great player, but I don't see this course as being particularly favorable towards lefties.
Or for somebody who doesn't have a lot of distance.
Right. So I actually was wrong about the 44th place as being the lowest finish. Chris Clemens has the lowest finish, and it was at LVC where he took 66th. That does not bode well for me for OTB. I think Chris Clemens is going to be the one to drop off. And if I had to pick of that group, Ezra Aderhold is probably my top most likely pick to get in the match play.
Yeah, I think, because of where Ezra's at, 10 points back of Kyle Klein, given his skill set, love the idea, love the pick. I actually think Aaron Gossage has a great chance to make a move here and get in.
Okay.
Aaron Gossage was in the top 10 at OTB Open last year.
Yeah.
And the guy's clearly playing better than he's ever played before. He's been very sharp. And you look at his last few finishes, he was terrible at Masters Cup. He was 53rd. But he's third at DDO. Mm-hmm. And he's got some other top 15 finishes. Now, certainly no guarantee for someone like that who's, part of the reason he's lower rated is because he's less consistent. But given the fact that he played really well here last year, I like his chances. And hey, Simon, can he make a monster move?
I think this
would Discmania, who sponsors the Match Play Championship, would they be happy to have Simon make some crazy move and pass Kyle Klein, or would they see that as a wash?
Given the way Kyle Klein's played, I think Simon stands a better chance at Match Play Championship. I want and look, here's the deal. I love Kyle Klein. I really like him as a player in a lot of ways. But the brand of Simon Lizotte carries and pulls so much more weight than Kyle Klein's.
No doubt.
Yes. Yeah, Discmania would absolutely want Simon over Kyle Klein if they had to pick.
All right, let's go over and take a look at the FPO side of things. Obviously, all of your Elite Series winners are in the top 4 in the rankings. Kristen, Katrina, Paige, Valerie, Mondahano. So not a lot of drama there. Let's go down to the cut line right now. Go ahead, Josh.
Kristen is not coming back, right?
Well, she's set to come back for Preserve. So I wouldn't be surprised if she came back for this event.
Okay.
Because she's not going to play OTB Portland or Beaver State, sort of the West Coast swing, but she's coming back for Preserve. So I would imagine she would prepare to come back for this. The payday is potentially huge.
That's true.
So I'd be surprised. When is Preserve? I don't know that off the top of my head. Look that up. And while you do that, I will take us through the bubble. Lisa Fakis is at 257 points in 13th. Haley King at 248. Holland Hanley at 239. And then Rebecca Cox last in right now at 235. Jessica Weiss is a half point back of Rebecca Cox in 17th. Then you go down to 224 for Henna Blomroos, not playing this weekend. Kona Panis is also at 224. Jen Allen at 222. A couple other people not playing this weekend. Vanessa Van Dyken is next up at 200 points. That's actually playing. I will note Rebecca Cox not registered. So she's currently sitting at 16th. I think that she's going to get passed. Like almost for sure, Jessica Weiss is going to pick up enough points to pass her. I think Kona Panis and Jen Allen also have a good chance to make a move, given that they're only about 13 points back of Rebecca Cox and 20 points back of Holland Hanley.
Yeah, Rebecca Cox is not going to be in it by her choice not to play. Jessica Weiss needs to take top 50. Well, it's not 50. That would have been MPO. I don't know what the line is. She needs 1 point. I'm not familiar with the cutoff line of where 1 point is.
It's all, I mean, I won't say it's a lock, but like Jessica Weiss on this course, like I think it's a lock.
Yeah. I think for the bubble players, the player who I like the best is Jennifer Allen. Jennifer Allen throws a mile. And the other part that's really important here, two things of note. One, Jennifer Allen is managing to sit 20th place while skipping Waco to Tallahassee. So she played LVC and then didn't play again until Champions Cup, where she has played since. So her finishes 7th, 9th, 10th, 13th, 14th. Like that's how she's where she's at. And I don't see any reason why she wouldn't continue to play around that same level, which is a 40-point swing in her favor. Remember, she is only 13 points back right now from the bubble. I really like Jennifer Allen, especially given that there are other players above her who... The tricky part for me is that the bubble players are... I mean, Haley King, Holland Hanley both throw incredibly far. And so it's not... I mean, Lisa Fakis and Maria Oliva are not known for their distance, but they are...
I don't know about that. Maria is a bomber.
Maria is a bomber. You're right. Lisa is not known for her distance. And so Lisa at 257 is about 35 points ahead of Jennifer Allen. So Haley, I expect to do better, to do at least as well as Jennifer Allen. Holland Hanley, I expect to do at least as well. Lisa Fakis has enough of a cushion. I don't expect Jennifer Allen to shoot 35 points better than Lisa Fakis for, in terms of Pro Tour standing points.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're not going to catch Lisa. So it really feels like for Jennifer Allen, the Rebecca Cox slot is the only one that will probably get bumped out. Holland Hanley may get bumped out. But, Holland Hanley also took 8th at LVC and 5th at Jonesboro. So I don't see Holland Hanley getting bumped really either. The hard thing about FPO is that given just kind of where the points are, who's not playing this weekend, it feels like you have Jessica Weiss, Kona Panis, and Jennifer Allen who are all vying for one spot.
Yep. It's going to be exciting down the stretch.
Yeah.
Like, you got to watch the leaderboard and get a feel for it as we go through. And I hope they do a good job of covering that on the Disc Golf Network. I'm sure they will. So going to be fun to keep an eye on that. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to break down OTB Open as we get ready for this 3-day tournament coming up starting tomorrow. We'll be right back. The Upshot is presented by Pound Disc Golf, makers of the best bags in the sport. And I've been talking about it. The new smaller bag from Pound, the Rufus, is almost here. You can check out videos of the prototype version 1 and 2 on Pound Disc Golf's new YouTube channel. Just search Pound Disc Golf on YouTube or go to youtube.com/Pound Disc Golf, and you can check out the videos as well as an introduction to their new fly pack, which is available now. I can't wait to get my hands on a Rufus. Already, they've built so many cool new things into just the version 2 of the prototype. So go check out the video and find out more. Welcome back to the Upshot. OTB Open is this weekend out in Stockton, California. 3-day tournament on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. Coverage where you expect it to be. All of the typical YouTube channels, DGN coverage. First 2 days for subscribers. Final day also on YouTube for free. Let's break it down. In case you didn't catch our interview yesterday with the TDs, we of course hope you listened to that, but in case you didn't, we're going to break down the basics for you. So last year, Eagle McMahon, Paige Pierce, your champions. Eagle not playing this year, still dealing with the shoulder injury. The course is quite different. We're going to look at some holes in a little bit, but they've changed about 70% of the course as they've opened up more of the land and kind of just rebuilt from, not quite from the ground up. They kept a lot of the water holes the same, but the rest of the course is essentially new. It is very long. It's longer than last year. 11,727 feet layout for MPO, 9,678 for FPO. It is the longest stop on tour so far this season. Other notes of interest, Josh, the 2-meter rule is in effect, but only on select holes. And Sean talked to us about it yesterday. They want to kind of create a little more risk on certain holes so that you can't just throw up into the trees and have it, hopefully plinko down and land by the basket. There's some risk of getting stuck in the tree if you do that. Drop zones are typically optional. So if you go out of bounds, you're allowed to rethrow or go from where you were last inbounds or use the optional drop zone. And sand traps, as typically is the case, are hazards. So that's kind of the basics. Josh, as we know, this course, because there's a lot of low ceilings and a lot of distance, we're probably going to see a lot of rollers. We certainly did last year, and I don't really see why that would be changing. It's clear on social media, the pros have been practicing their rollers. It is typically the way to bite off a lot of distance on these golf course layouts, especially when there's low ceilings.
Yes, and that was, last year when Sean came on for our interview, he was talking to us before and said he was going to give me a hard time because I was pretty critical last year of the amount of rollers that we saw. I think that rollers are an exciting shot. They're fun to watch. They're fun to see. And because of, I think they still have quite a bit of novelty, given how infrequently they are used on tour. I can understand the appeal that comes with them. Looking at this layout, though, it looks strikingly different to me than last year in two ways. The first is that I found some of the holes on OTB last year to be somewhat difficult to kind of delineate. I felt like there were holes that kind of repeated shapes and shots, as well as just the features looked very similar. It makes sense, though, knowing that they only had access to about the top third of the entire golf property, though, why that was the case. It just, they had a very limited space land-wise that they were working with. And so, obviously seeing that kind of repetition makes a little bit more sense at that point. This year, they have gotten to expand, as you mentioned, to the full property. And just looking at the shapes of the holes, they look already like there's significantly more variety and changes in lines. The use of mandos, water, and tunnels all just look, and drop zones even, all look quite exciting to me. The other point that I'd like to make about rollers, and I think hopefully this is alleviated by some of these course changes that I've mentioned, I enjoy rollers when they are executed well. The problem is that a roller strategy often feels like a get your 90% of distance, and then where you end up, you just scramble and go from there. That's how I feel a lot of rollers end up, because the amount of control that you have on the second half of the roll, for example, is significantly less than it is compared to an air shot. And that's kind of where my dislike of rollers come into play. It looks like rollers are going to have quite a technical element, though, given just the shape and the lines that some of these holes are forced to play. Again, we're going off of a caddy book. I'm looking at a top-down bird's eye view of a diagram the Disc Golf Pro Tour put together. I could be completely wrong. I've seen holes that looks one way on the caddy book and look another. But just based on from my initial impression of the caddy book, I'm really excited for this course this year.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be long. We saw some great moments though last year. I mean, Eagle, I think it was round 2, just shredded this course. I mean, like, was just unbelievably dialed in. It was super fun to watch. Too bad he won't be back to try to defend his title, but I'm excited to see some, of the other big arms get a chance at this course. Let's take a look at some of the holes. Now, when we asked Jack and Sean Mercy yesterday what the signature holes were, they pointed to 10 and 17. So why don't we start and take a look at hole number 10. Hole 10, par 4, 850 feet for the MPO, par 4, 667 for FPO. There's a water carry, and then the basket is tucked along on the left-hand side of more water, with trees kind of guarding the green. So if you want to go hyzer, right-handed hyzer around the trees, that makes a lot of sense, but you're going to be having to test out over the water. If you're too conservative, you probably won't have a putt. And if you're more attacking, you have certainly a chance of going in the water. But this is kind of why I think this course is interesting, Josh. This hole is emblematic of what they've done. They don't really use the golf course to dictate where the holes go. They just said, okay, like, here's this land, some of which is open and some of which is not, and now we're going to build a course on it, which is exactly what every golf course layout should look like. But so often, what do we see? We see players teeing off, going down the fairway of the golf hole, and then maybe at the end of 750 feet, the basket is tucked to the left in the tree. That is not what OTB Open course does at all at Swenson Park. They just, like, if you look at the like overhead map of the caddy book, there's just like slashing across like multiple golf fairways to create a hole through a bunch of trees, which, the trees typically are lining the golf fairways, so they're going through that stuff for the disc golf hole. It makes a lot of sense to me.
I mean, on the caddy book, get rid of the lighter colored fairways, and you would not be able to tell that this is on a golf course.
Right.
There's the occasional sand trap, the occasional golf green that's OB, but for the most part, like you said, it really does not follow the golf course layout. It does not look like it. It really looks like an exciting course to watch this weekend.
You like hole 10?
I really like hole 10. And hole 10 has what is my favorite feature of any hole on any course anywhere, and that is 2 routes to the basket. One that is a high risk, high reward shot, and one that is a conservative play that allows for you to do so safely. Any hole that offers that, it's one of the reasons I love Champions Cup, because I think there are several holes that offer that kind of risk reward play versus a conservative play. In my opinion, any hole that offers that is a hole that I'm just going to love. And that, that landing zone over on the right looks pretty small. It looks like there's that tree that's right on the edge of the OB that really could pinch you off, so that you have to then pitch out anyway to a conservative shot to go for your par. That this is a hole that I really, really enjoy, and I'm excited to see how it plays.
Let's take a look at 17. You'll probably remember 17 from last year. This is the peninsula hole with the basket tucked out on the little peninsula. The water is only about 20 feet from the pin on the right-hand side, and it's about 45 feet of land past the basket before you get into the water again. So par 4, 737 for MPO, 569 for FPO. You got to have a really big tee shot to put yourself in a good position to attack, and then it's a pretty tricky shot. I think this hole played a little bit easier than I expected last year, but it's a beautiful hole. The basket right by the water. Risk reward is very real. you can see that it has some similarities to 10 in the fact that the basket is tucked by the water, which is going to create that challenge. This is how I like to see OB involved in a course. Rather than have an OB line, we have a water, right? It's pretty, and it feels more logical for everybody. It's kind of calling back to Simon's point from earlier in the show.
This hole also, I think, is pretty emblematic of, for the FPO side, what they were talking about, that this course is designed for FPO in 3 years, because based on what I'm kind of looking at for the shot, you're still going to be, most FPO players are probably going to still be around 300 plus feet from the pin after their tee shot, maybe 300 exactly, that they're going to have to throw a big hyzer shot in order to, over the water, in order to attack that green. And it's going to require, in order to throw the spike hyzer, a good amount of distance. I'm excited to watch this whole play on the FPO side. I think I'm more excited to watch it play on the FPO side than the MPO side. I think that it's going to be a good separator hole for the FPO side, where the top players are going to have a really good shot at birdie, and everyone else is probably going to play it. I'm expecting to play more conservatively.
And finally, let's take a look at 18. Par 4, 689 for MPO, 594 for FPO. Josh, does this look familiar to you?
I mean, a dogleg right with a keyhole green and a tree that sets up a landing zone about 247 feet from the basket. I swear I've seen this before.
Sean Jack and Sean Mercy told us that they were inspired by hole 18 at the Fort for the World Championships last year, and they've designed a hole that is extremely similar to it. That doesn't have a water carry.
No.
It's more of a tunnely shot through the trees. For MPO, or for MPO, they got to get about 400 and maybe 425 to get up to the kind of the corner, and then it's going to be from there about 250 to the basket, and the OB is tight to the green. I mean, it's pretty similar to the layout from 18 at the Fort. They didn't like their hole 18 last year. They wanted to create some more drama, and you know what? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's what the model they went with here, and I would expect to see similar drama play out on this hole as we saw last year at the World Championships.
Well, and they also did it because it's a spectator opportunity. They were bringing in bleachers to line the second half of that fairway and around the green, and I mean, hole 18 at Worlds delivered some of the best delivered the best moments of disc golf in a very long time. If that's the case, why would you not set up another hole 18 to do the same thing?
They really just shamelessly stole it. I kind of love it. I mean, you don't really see that very often. So there you go. There's a couple looks at a couple of the holes on the course, and looking forward to checking out the whole coverage. Josh, it's time to make our picks. So let's get into it. Let's start in FPO. Who you got?
So I have in third place Ella Hansen. She's playing great. She's playing better than last year. I know it's not her performance on the, we talked about it, the Masters Cup meant that just because you throw far doesn't mean you're a lock on a far course. That is true. Deshaun said, though, that FPO, if you do not have 350 plus feet of power on the FPO side, that there are holes that you are going to look at and say, how do I just salvage a par? That's a huge advantage for those players. Ella Hansen, obviously one of them, probably the farthest thrower on tour right now. I really wanted to pick her to win. I just couldn't do it. Not after last weekend. Hopefully she learned a lesson. I would be stoked if she did win. But I couldn't do it. My second place is Elaine King. Despite not playing a lot on tour this year, she is still playing incredibly well when she does. Fourth place at LVC, and then 11th, 10th, 6th has been her finishes on the Elite Series for the past 3 events. I don't see any reason why that can continue, and this course sets up well for her. So I've got Elaine King in second, and my winner is Katrina Allen. She came close last weekend, shot a great final round at the golf course. I think she's going to do really well here again. That does mean, notably, that I am leaving Paige Pierce off my podium. It's because she didn't take the Hawaii trip.
I think you're insane to leave Paige off on this course,
that is
personally.
fair.
But I can't really quibble with the people you have in the top three. I think they're all capable of having a very good weekend, and I have some of those players on my podium. For me, in third place, I have Katrina Allen. Kat was only one shot off the win last year. As I feel like I've said every time I've not picked Katrina to win a tournament this year, I think she could win. And look, I mean, she's just been so sharp this year. So kind of an auto include in my podiums right now. Ella Hansen for me in second place. I feel the same way. I really wanted to pick Ella to win. It feels like a trap to pick her to win.
It does.
In some ways, it feels like a trap to put her on the podium. But I mean, it's true. Like this course should, in theory, play really well to her skill set. The question is, does she have the control with things like rollers to be able to take advantage of that? She's playing a lot better than she did last year. I'm going to take and she's also in good form right now, as we've seen. So I think I'm going to put her on the podium. For me, I got Paige Pierce winning this thing. I get it, right? Like, it's so easy to watch Paige Pierce like have an off weekend, and then everyone's like, "Oh, Paige is washed," like, "Oh," I don't know if people are actually saying she's washed, but it's like, "Oh, you can't pick Paige right now." But I just don't think that's right. I think like on a course like this is where Paige shines, and I wouldn't be surprised if she won by like 5 strokes. So that's who I've got for FPO. In MPO, some interesting picks this week. In third place, I'm taking Aaron Gossage. This is for sure my boldest pick in a while. But the kid has been playing pretty good disc golf. He was top. I think he was 7th here last year. Not that far off the lead. He's playing better than he did a year ago. Why can't this be his time to pop off and get up in there inside the top 3? I mean, I really think that when you take a look at like his body of work, right? Like he was top 3 at DDO. How dissimilar is this layout from what we saw at DDO? I mean, they're different courses, but it's not crazy different. And the wind could be a factor again this weekend. So I've taken Aaron Gossage to get his second podium of the season. In second place, I have James Conrad, who was very sharp here last year and is also in good form right now. I think we're seeing him round into mid-season James, dangerous James. Late season James is the most dangerous James. So I got him in second place. And in first, I have Calvin Heimberg. Again, no eagle this weekend. Paul's been a little off. Ricky's coming off the knee thing. Calvin feels like the right pick this weekend, and I'm going to take him to win.
All right. Question for you.
And no Chris Dickerson, by the way.
Chris Dickerson also
Reminder,
not
no
playing.
Chris Dickerson.
Question for you. Do you think that the odds on Aaron Gossage making the podium are better than the odds of Paige Pierce missing the podium?
No.
Okay. Just wanted to point out, you called me crazy for the leaving Paige off, and then you go and swing Aaron Gossage, and I'm like, if I had $10, I like my pick better than yours. So, just had to give you a hard time for that.
It's fair. I mean, sometimes you got to take a chance out here.
You do.
And I'm taking a chance on Aaron Gossage.
And I'm taking a chance on people not Paige Pierce.
What if he goes out and wins? He gets the interview next week on the Upshot. We'll do the whole thing. It'll be awesome.
For my MPO, I have Simon Lizotte in my third place.
Ooh.
So that's my, I think, even more spice probably than Paige Pierce. I mean, look, Simon played 6th and then 2nd for the past 2 Elite Series events, 2nd at DDO. He took 7th last year at OTB when he wasn't playing nearly as well as he is this year. And so I just, especially if the wind is a factor again, this just feels like Simon's weekend. And what a cool story it would be if Simon won it. Not willing to go that far, but I really like Simon for this weekend. My second place, I've got Ricky. I hear the injury concern, but I think that it's probably by now taken care of. It's under control. And if anything, given the nature of that injury being just the flare-up from Lyme disease, I think Ricky is the best rested of any other player, and coming into this might be just ready to shred and ready to go again, given that he didn't play Masters Cup and is coming off the vacation. Look, if the trend holds, you just have to go on vacation somewhere tropical, and then you come back and win 5 events in a row beginning at OTB. It wasn't enough for me, though.
He was only 5.
No, go ahead.
He was only 5 shots off the lead last year. And Eagle really separated. It was round 1 where he really went crazy. He shot 53, which I guess is the course record, although that doesn't really mean anything because the course has changed so much. But he holds the old course record.
Right. And then my winner also is Calvin Heimberg. Look, I'm thinking back to the long drive competition at the All-Stars event, and Calvin Heimberg just has besides probably Eagle, furthest distance on golf lines of any player on tour. And if you're going to take the course that's just incredibly long and pull Eagle out of it, I mean, Calvin throws so far, but they're so controlled, and I just feel great about him this weekend. He also took 4th place last year, tied with Ricky there, so has a history of playing well at this course. And I just feel like he's playing well right now. And given the combination of his skill set, I think that it is a very high likelihood that he does well here. That's why I've got him up on my win.
Quick fantasy check-in. No Chris Dickerson.
Mm-hmm.
Don't forget about that. Greg Barsby's not playing. Cale LaVisca's not playing. The Europeans are out, so don't pick them. And of course, no Eagle right now. So those are some notable names missing on the MPO side. FPO is missing a few more of the top level players. Of course, no Kristen Tatar. Rebecca Cox not playing. Probably going to miss out on the match play championships because of it. Surprising decision. Hannah Blomroos out. All the Europeans out. Macy Vela Diaz isn't playing. That's kind of your notables in FPO. My value pick is pretty obvious, Josh. I'm taking Aaron Gossage, 10-12 rated, top 10 here last year, playing good, coming off the top 3 at DDO. I think it's an easy value play if you're looking for something there.
My value play, Anthony Barella. Took 2nd here last year, all the way down at 43rd in the Pro Tour standings right now. I don't expect a lot of guys. Aaron Gossage has been playing well recently. If you're in the fantasy league, there's a chance that people have grabbed Aaron Gossage with Eagle out on injury. I think Anthony Barella is probably still very likely up for grabs. I really like him for a pick for this week. This course just sets up for someone like Anthony Barella without a doubt.
Yeah, and horses for courses.
That's right.
You Got to keep an eye on that. So there you go. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will look forward to talking with you on Sunday night live in our Discord if you're a subscriber. So you can become a subscriber for less than $4 a month. discgolf.ultworld.com/subscribe. We'll be breaking down the OTB Open on Sunday. And then, of course, we'll be back with you on the regular podcast next Tuesday. For Josh Mansfield, I'm Charlie Eisenhood saying so long, and we'll talk to you next week right here on The Upshot.